Good morning. It is an honor to be here. I was just sharing with the first service that in my 10 years of ministry, I've never spoken at another center. I've done talks at Asilomar, but I've never ventured outside of my spiritual home. And Edward has been on me for a long time. Come to my community, come to my community. And I'm like, no, they'll have expectations. You know, I know my people. I control expectations that way. I don't need to do that. So why enter into a whole new field? So at age 50, I decided that I was going to venture into some new experiences. So I said yes, and I want to thank him and everyone that's been just fantastic today to welcome me into your spiritual home. I did find it unusual that Edward asked me to talk on the subject of when to stop giving. Because as a minister, that would be the last thing I would ask someone to speak on at my center. So, I mean, really, think about it. As a minister, you go, when do you stop? No, I'm supposed to be saying, when do you start? So it was a little bit awkward when he asked me that question. I said, are you sure you haven't drank one of your essential oils a little too much? It's like, why don't you call me tomorrow and verify that that is indeed what you want me to talk about today? Yeah, he was serious. Yeah, and as Reverend Ruth was saying, I have a 16-year-old. We brought her home from the hospital, so we've had her for 16 years, and yeah, I get lots of spiritual material from her, and I'm not sure, again, if it's spiritual practices or the need for Xanax that takes a teenager, but we'll move right on after that. Okay, so when you've been talking about the law of receiving for the past few weeks, my understanding is that you've been reading the book about the law and several parts about receiving and giving. So in order to do that, though, I think it's essential that we review a couple spiritual practices and a couple spiritual principles that go right along with the law of giving and giving freely. The first one is the law of attraction, which has been given so much press. The law of attraction, The Secret, and all that stuff. So I don't need to belabor that one. But the law of attraction is definitely part of this idea of giving, and it also is an idea of when to stop giving. So the law of attraction says this: you will attract into your life financial security conditions in the events which you believe to be true. So you will bring that experience on you. So I don't need to teach you the law of attraction because I know Edward has been a really good job of doing that for you. But what I do want to do is I want to talk about how the law of giving and how the law of when not to give, how they meet these two spiritual laws, which is the law of receiving and the law of compensation. Now the law of receiving is very simple. The law of receiving would actually be called the law of giving, because in order to receive, one has to give, and we know this. But the law of compensation says this, and it was really interesting because someone left the first service and they didn't understand when I meant compensation. It's not quid pro quo compensation. What it is, the law of compensation says this: if you want to become something bigger, you have to create the space for that to happen. It doesn't mean that you're being compensated one-on-one. I compensate you for your work, you do work, you get paid. No. It means if you want to become something bigger than you are, you have to create the space. Well, how do you create the space? You create the space by giving, because then it creates the space within you to receive, and the universe will rush to fill that up. In fact, it's the best universal conspiracy theory ever, is that the universe will always conspire to create your good. So the more you allow yourself to give, the greater expression you can become. So then it begs the question right after that is, there we go, when can you consider mindfully not giving? Wait a minute, if I do that, if I were to stop giving, wouldn't that stop my flow? If I were to stop giving, wouldn't that just say to the universe, oh, wait, I'm done, I have enough? In the law of compensation, if I stop giving, wouldn't that just tell the universe I have nothing else to fill, nowhere else to go, I'm totally okay? Maybe, but I think sometimes we don't give for the right reasons. I think sometimes we give and we expect something in return. We do contingency giving. We always expect people to do something in exchange for what we do. And I think maybe, just maybe, that's the time when we need to look at these spiritual principles and say, this is not the way it's supposed to work. So let's talk about that. Your mind is preconditioned to prove yourself right now. Have you ever given something to someone and said, lent out a punch bowl, so to speak? You gave someone a punch, you loaned out your punch bowl, and you know, I just know it's going to come back chipped. I do. Have you ever lent anybody money going, I'm never going to see that again? And you know deep down, already in your heart, you already said, this is the way it's going to be. And guess what? The universe conspires to create that truth for you. Isn't that wonderful? It's guaranteed. So you have disappointment when you're giving it. You have this intuition, you have this gut feeling that it's not going to come back to me pressed down and flowing over. It's going to come back to me broken, if it comes back to me at all. So wait a minute. My mind and that idea is already on the track to compensating itself, to receiving itself, to making that self fact in my reality. So we really have to be careful and mindful about when and how we do that. Because if we do it with the wrong mindset, it's guaranteed to come back to us in a way that we don't want. So remember, when you're giving, however you're giving, that's going to be your truth, because the universe wants to create that for you. That contingency giving, if ever you have an if-then proposition to your giving, you need to be careful. If I do something, then something else will happen. Biggest mistake with this idea of tithing. When I first, this is years ago, when I first got introduced to the idea of tithing, I thought, wow, this is great. You don't even have to go to the casino. This is like, I throw down 10, I get 100 back, pressed down and flowing over. Why? Who wouldn't do this? It's insanity. So I thought, well, this is really easy. This is all I have to do. As long as I keep my tithing up, there's going to be a ton. There was an expectation in my mind. So I started doing it. Totally didn't work. Totally didn't work. You know why? Because I sat there thinking about, if I do this, then that's going to happen. If I were to give something of myself, then this is what I know will be guaranteed a return. And that's the only reason I did it. It didn't come from a heart space. It came from a what do I get out of this deal space. Does that make sense? He who seeks the Father with the objective of giving doesn't exceed him in the truth of spirit. When you have this objective of giving, look, one of the spiritual things that I finally learned, by the way, I want to thank Edward for my fan. In my rider, I said, I live in the desert where it's 120 degrees. I mean, it's a setting on your oven. And so I said, I have to have a fan. And so I want to thank him for allowing me to do that. I mean, I saw some of the women up here and their dresses are flowing. I'm thinking, wow, this is so Farrah Fawcett on the beach. This is so cool. Anyway, I have a practice that I have now. I never loan anyone or give anything to anyone that I expect back. Money doesn't matter. I mean, I don't tell them that, right? If someone wants to borrow something or borrow money, I'll be like, I have to only give if I can afford to watch it walk out of my life and not think twice about it. Because if I don't do that, what happens is every time I see that person, they're in debt to me. And I view them that way, and it feels uncomfortable. So what I've learned is there's no contingency giving. There cannot be an if I do this, then you do this. I do it because it comes from my heart. And I don't expect anything in return. Now, I have to learn to stop giving when I get used like that. No one does that to me but myself. I'm the only one who sets myself up for that disappointment. So when do I stop giving? When I can say to myself, this doesn't look good. I'm doing this out of guilt. I'm doing this out of an obligation. I'm doing it, it's not coming from the heart space. It's not coming from even the head space. It's coming from a nasty space. And usually when that happens, I end up losing. And the friendship or the relationship ends up losing. And it's not just financial matters. It's relationships. It's your health. It's whatever you do. If I do this, then I do this. That's not the place to come from. I need to stop giving when I'm doing that and take a step back and say, what is my true intention here? What am I really trying to do by answering this question? Are you with me? Okay, cool. Living your gifts. Let's talk about this. As people who follow the teachings of Science of Mind, we're taught that we're not supposed to need anything. In fact, this is how I hear it at my service. If I use the word need, inevitably, someone comes up from my congregation and says, you're not supposed to need anything. Need is a never-ending excessive demand. And I'm like, really? Well, I need a plumber. Okay, I need an auto mechanic. I can't find the dipstick in my car, so I need people to do this. And why I put this up here is because it's okay to share your gifts, because guess what happens when you, look, the law of Dharma says this, whenever I'm sharing my gifts, I can have a need, you can have a need, you share your gift, I share my gift, that's the kingdom of heaven when we meet. So that's okay to share. You don't have to be selfish about sharing your gifts. You just have to be mindful that people just aren't the taking kind. You know them? You know those people? It's kind of rough to be around them. Oscar Wilde says, selfishness is not living as one wishes to live. Selfishness is demanding that others live as you wish them to live. Again, the contingency plan. People have to meet my expectation or this isn't going to work. That's not real giving. You need to stop giving if that is your mindset. All right? Next thing, the old adage. I was raised in Unity Church, which I was pretty lucky. I don't have a whole lot of baggage. Unity Church, for those of you who don't know, maybe new to this whole idea, is science of mind with a lot of Jesus scrambled in. Okay, that's all it is they took the beater and, whip a couple Jesus things in there, same stuff. So I don't carry a lot of baggage. Conversely, though, my grandmother, who I was raised around, she was Assembly of God. Yeah, everybody, ooh. I know, put those two together at dinner. You have a wonderful conversation. And then my sister married a Jew. Oy vey. I mean, really, it was the trip. So her adage was, you have to give till it hurts. And so I was brought up thinking, well, one part of my upbringing says, no, you give out of love. And then there's another whole mindset, you give until it hurts. Well, if I'm giving till it hurts, what am I going to bring about into my experience if that's my mindset? Give until pain, then I'm supposed to feel good? No, I'm going to get more pain, pressed down and flowing over. So if you think you're going to give till it hurts, that will never, ever make anyone happy, especially you. Especially you. Are you with me? This is what it reminds me of. I slept and dreamed of a life of beauty. I woke and found out it was mostly duty. Because that is what I was taught, someone else's nightmare is what I bought. Yeah. This is one of my favorite ones. I give until I can't give anymore. This is the old parent adage. This is mine. I use this a lot. This is the guilt I throw on my daughter all the time. I give and give and give and give and give, and what do I get? Nothing. None of you have ever said that, I'm sure. None of you have ever felt that way. I feel that way all the time. Really. You have a unique situation here, and I want to break away just for a second because your spiritual director, Dr. Edward, is amazing. And I'm not sucking up because I'm already here. So I already have the microphone, so guess what, Edward? You get to listen to this. No, he changed. We met during the integration in San Diego. I'd never met him before. I'd seen him speak one other time at Asilomar. And after we met, we became fast friends. And ever since then, Edward was amazing in that he gives everything to not just your community. He gives it to the global effort of moving the science of mind and the Centers for Spiritual Living. And he does it in such a way that is just, it is just amazing how effortless. He just says, you know what? No, you're not going to pay for that. Here, I'll email it to you. I'll put it in your Dropbox. You just go pick it up. In fact, I'll put it in a Word document. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Just put your name on it and off it goes. And you know how wonderful that was for a minister like me who's trying to create or continue a legacy ministry, to have someone new with fresh ideas come in and go, here, just use this stuff. Just use this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's wonderful. Now, the problem is when I give until I can't give anymore, I do this a lot to myself. And what happens is when I do this, normally there's someone around in my life who says, let me help you. And you know what I say? No, I got it. Martyr. I'm really good at taking that, saying, no, I don't need your help. No, I'm good. No, I'm not. Because eventually I run out of myself. And then when I deplete myself, what happens? There's nothing left for me to give, and I look in the mirror and I go, boy, everybody's just taking from me. Well, maybe I need to, back up the way I'm giving, and open up the other side of the flow and receive some, and not think I have to go at it alone. It's okay to back up just a little bit and go, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, then I need to look at this situation. So I give until I can't give anymore. Our mistakes do not come from the wise operation of the law. They come from a miscalculation. Our mistakes come from miscalculating. We can't change the law to fix our mistakes. So what happens is we have to change how we use the law so we have its correct application. One of the best examples I know is in a book from Raymond Hollywell called Working with the Law. And I love this. Just hang in. This is a wonderful, wonderful way to actually look at this stuff. Sometimes I so often hear people say, well, I do give, and sometimes I give until it hurts, but I seldom see any sign of any return. There's a right way and a wrong way to give. There is careless, impulsive giving, and there is careful, scientific giving. When we give to a person or group of persons where we are retarding progress, we are wasting our substance. Where we give to one who doesn't put forth the effort to help himself, we need not expect a good return. Favorite line, ready? One I use all the time, but I can't say it out loud to a lot of people because they find it offensive, but this is great. It's in a book. Read it. Nature does not support a parasite or a loafer, but she gives her energy to the ones who are struggling forward. She lets the parasite and the loafer see that she will help them if they put forth the effort to help themselves. But with us, if we support a loafer in what he is in, how can we expect any good returns? Rather, the loafer becomes arrogant and demanding for more and more relief until we wonder where and when it will end. Ew, yeah, I know. But think about it. There's a lot of people who just take. And what happens is eventually they run out of people to take from. So then they find new people to take from. And eventually they run out of those, and then they have to find new people. What the problem is they're not working this law of giving and receiving. So you have to decide when spiritually it's okay to say no. Am I helping this person move forward, or am I actually stopping them from moving forward? Am I actually putting forth what I need to help them so that they can create a life, or am I actually sustaining their ability to not get out and live their life? You have to ask yourself these questions. All right. The Power of Living. In your book that you're following this year, the goal this month, the goal is to strive for balance. Perfect balance may never be possible. However, being conscious of the benefits of balance will help you to get closer to it. Balance is really challenging. It's one of the biggest challenges I have. My ministry is based on the fact that I'm a real person. I'm more comfortable sitting down there than I am sitting way up here high. That's why I kind of move down here every once in a while. It makes me feel at one with you. So one of the things I struggle with is finding that balance, that sense of balance. But as long as I have that in the back of my mind, as long as I have that as an intention that I'm going to have balance in every area of my life, not just my finances, but balance in my relationships, balance in my health, balance in my career. You know, I find that when I'm out of balance, really everything goes out of balance. If I'm too heavy into vacation planning, then I don't work, right? If I'm financially struggling, then I'm not working. If I'm really struggling in my relationship, it's because I'm just not paying attention. The whole thing requires that I have the intention of balance. The intention of balance. It's a challenge, and that perfection may never be there, but the intention must be there. Attention must be paid to those things which are most important. And that, to me, covers that whole idea of balance. God is my only source. This is an affirmation that I use all the time. Whenever I'm starting to feel like I can't do things anymore, or I feel like there's just something missing, I say to myself, God is my source. God is my instant source. God is my constant source. God is my abundant source. God is my only source. And when I put myself back into that place where God is my only source, my instant, constant, abundant supply, when I put myself in that headspace, wherever I am seems to feel better because I'm not relying on my consciousness to solve things. I'm relying on the universal idea that has a much greater idea of what I can be to actually work through things for me. So when you're feeling that way, when you feel out of balance, when you feel like I can't give anymore, or I feel like I'm just feeling used and abused, then you need to back up. God is my only source. This other person, this paycheck, this other situation, this other doctor, not all of them are your only source. God is your only source. Are you with me? Okay, good. There are no two ways about it. You're either heading for lack or heading for abundance. And your consciousness around giving will determine the direction. I love that graphic because it's balanced. And there's no two ways about it. You're either heading up, heading down, or you stay the balance. And I work on this all the time. I work on this all the time to give properly from right state of mind. This is one of the biggest challenges I have with our new congregation because, I live in God's waiting room, Palm Desert. And no, really, it's good. It's real good. But I took over a ministry that's been there for a really long time. And so we're bringing new members in. So there's all these new people who come in who don't have an idea of how to help sustain the ministry. They don't understand the idea of commitment and that there has to be a balance, that when you come in here and you read, this is where you are spiritually fed. This is where you pay for your buffet, so to speak. And I try to teach newer people that, look, you don't just come in here and just receive. You have to give in order for you to come back to this place to receive. And it can't be incumbent on a few people to do it. It has to be an effort on everyone's part to make it happen. Because if you don't, go back to things that are out of balance, people will not want to do what they need to do or want to do because they'll feel obligated. No one should feel obligated, but you give where you get your spiritual food. And this is where I teach people about that balance. Another one. I am afraid to give, I may not have enough. Last one, I'm afraid to give because I might not have enough. I found this. To me, this is perfect. He was such a cautious lad, he never romped or played. He never smoked, he never drank, he never kissed a maid. So when he up and passed away, insurance was denied. They claim because he never really lived, he never really died. See, I don't want to be afraid of living. In fact, I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm one of those people who want to slide into my little 6 feet under with a lemon drop martini in one hand, a cigar, and going, woohoo, what a ride. That was great. I don't want to go in any other way. That means I can't be afraid to give. I can't hold it to myself. I need to be able to keep that idea open, and I had to keep myself in the flow so that my life is in the flow. Does that make sense for you? Your life is always in direct proportion to your self-concept. For everyone who has, more shall be given, and they shall be given in abundance. But to those who don't have, whatever they have shall be taken away. So if you don't think that you have anything to give, hang on to it tight, but watch it. It's going to go away. It's all part of the universal flow. And guess what? I have a secret for you. None of it's ours anyway. At the end of the day, it's not ours anyway. You're not going to take it with you. Yeah. So put yourself in the flow of giving and receiving. As soon as I rethought my way of tithing, which I'm not going to get into that because that's like we'll be here till Thursday. But as soon as I actually entered into the right consciousness of that, my idea has changed and my experience has totally changed. Because guess what? I went back to the original concept, the law of attraction. Financial success to me, financial success is this: to do what I want, when I want, how I want it, and to pay cash for it. Amen. What I want, when I want, how I want it, to pay cash for it. And as soon as I stopped giving the way I was doing it mentally and not from the heart, as soon as I began to give and tithe regularly and do it not with the intention of anything else other than what is financial security, just allow the universe to unfold for me, it's exactly what happened when I did it right. I had to stop doing what I was doing wrong and reset it, reframe it, and do something right. So we had the law of attraction today. We had the law of receiving. When you give, you receive. When you give, you receive. Keep both doorways open so you can flow. Don't just take. Nature will not support that for very long. Neither will your mother-in-law. So don't keep doing that. Last thing, the law of compensation. Become bigger than what you thought you were meant to be. When you become something bigger, the law will compensate and fill you right up. It's the greatest conspiracy ever around. It works for everyone, and that's the way it is. So please join me right now in a prayer. And this is what I know for you, and this is what I know for myself. That there is a power for good, there is a power for God, there is love, light, peace, joy, happiness, wisdom, abundance, health, balance, and order. All that God is, I am. All that God is, you are. And so we move and have our being in that kingdom right now of balance. We know what to do, how to do it, because the universe knows exactly when and how and what to say at the moment we need to say it. We stand in our own truth. We know our truth. And by knowing our truth, we are set free and we are able to make decisions consciously from the heart, from the head, knowing that we are doing the right thing for ourselves and for others when we stand in our spiritual integrity. I know for each person here in the sound of my voice, something said today, something saying today, an affirmation, a prayer, something happened in your experience today that will change not just your today, but your tomorrow. And so we bless that experience now. We allow it to multiply. We know that you are here by divine appointment today. And I was here by divine assignment. And together, when we met that consciousness in this room, the kingdom of heaven prevailed. This is my truth. This is our truth. And as I release this to the law, I do so gratefully as together we say, and so it is. Amen.